everybody. Good morning and welcome back. Let's turn that down. Welcome back to Cloud Talk Live. Everyone, my name is Jeff DeVerter. You know that. I'm here every day this week, it seems like. And I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology. And again, delighted to be here with you. And speaking of you, I'd love to know who you are. So go ahead and introduce yourself down there in the comments. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you are. Let's see if Clark Kent's here. Let's see if some of our other favorites are here. Because boy, are you guys in for a treat today with a wonderful ex-racker now working over at Snow Software, Becky Trevino. You're going to get to know her really well here very shortly once we get through the song and dance of all the things going on inside of cloud. And with that, if you want to get a hold of us, you can do that super easy. Just shoot me an email over at solve@rackspace.com. That hits not me, but the whole production team, producer Daniel. He combs through those as well. Comes through those. Like you guys are sending me a lot of notes. You're not, but I'd love for you to. Tell us about program ideas. It would be great to hear from you. Ashley, so glad that you, Ashley, you're a downright regular now. Thank you for being here this morning. All right, with that, let's power through. Susan Price is here. Susan, you're going to earn the right of being a regular as well, which is fantastic. Hey, everybody, let's look at this. This is episode 102. 102. We passed that century mark on Monday, and it's just as shocking that we've had so many. And we take the audio from all of these and put them out in the Cloud Talk podcast feed. And so if you miss any of these, you can catch them there, but only if you're subscribed. You can find the Cloud Talk podcast anywhere the podcasts are found. So go check those out. Subscribe. It would be awesome. Jamie White is here. You're welcome, Jamie. I love doing these. Maybe you should come be on the program sometime. We have Kevin from Mexico. We have Barat, who is, well, here from Dallas. A very good morning to you as well. Christine from Orlando. And Evan Oaks is here. Team Becky, that's right. I wonder how many of the Becky fan club was going to show up. You guys are, when I say you're in for a treat, you are in for a wonderful treat. And Mohammed, yes, you can have an introduction. Mohammed, I'm so glad that you're here. Where in the world are you coming in from, Mohammed? Hey guys, quick reminder, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency has Shields Up. You know what that means. Go back and listen to episode 100 if you want to learn everything about what you need to do to be prepared for potential cyber issues as it relates to all things world destabilization right now. Yay, destabilization. All right, with that, let's jump into what is new in cloud and in cloud this week. Let's find the right button to push right here. There it is. All right. So there is a new article from Flexera, the Flexera 2022 State of the Cloud. Folks, this is pretty amazing stuff. You know, Becky, you'll remember back when we started working with all of the major cloud providers and AWS was just out there in the lead. Well, Flexera's got some interesting stats that Azure in a lot of different areas passing up AWS. Now, I talked to an AWS rep yesterday, and of course, they have their spin on that. But go do the research yourself. Go read this article. You can find it over at that website, rackspace.com/solve/102. This link and all the others you can find there. And you know what you won't find there? Anybody selling you anything. That's the good thing, except great information. All right, moving on in the news, everyone. Let's talk about cloud security. The Cloud Security Alliance sets the countdown clock to quantum. What does that mean? I'll tell you what that means. It means that they have set the date when quantum computing will actually be able to be used to hack the current encryption methods used really in absolutely everything. Meaning all the stuff we thought was secure won't be. Now, the date they set for that was, I think, in 2030. Let's look at this. Yep, April 14th, curiously specific, of 2030. When they estimate that the quantum computer will be able to break present-day cybersecurity infrastructure. Now, go over to the rackspace.com/solve/102 and read this link. It gives some things you can be doing to prepare for that. Is it really going to be April 14th? I doubt it. Of 2030, but you know what? It's a good date to start to plan for. And so it's certainly something that you'll want to plan for. That's going to be a scary time when quantum that can have Susan Price, will blockchain save us? Maybe. Let's load ourselves up on the blockchain. So we need to do an episode on blockchain now that you mentioned that, Susan. Hey, Forrest is here. Glad you're here. Forrest got to endure one of my endure is the right word classes yesterday for some of our new rackers. Rookie orientation we call it, and I get to present to them. One of my favorite meetings to do. And so let's press on. Let's get into some of the cloud releases. What's new from the cloud? There really is some cool stuff this week, and it starts over at AWS. Amazon the ECS API now supports elastic load balancers, service registries, tag propagation, and ECS managed tags. What does this mean? More stuff in the API, more things you can code, more stuff that you can code for. Forrest, you're too kind. Not have to endure. That's what I tell my wife. She has to endure my lessons. And so this is really cool stuff, guys. This is building on. We talk about this all the time. These cloud providers, they're relentless. They're relentlessly awesome. They don't just launch a product, but they build and mature these products, and sometimes they bundle them together to become other interesting things. Well, now you're able to, with our Elastic Kubernetes container services, you can now code to their APIs directly with all of these new things, and be able to be more automated, which has the potential and the opportunity to make your applications, of course, more resilient. If you can rebuild those dynamically because you've done that, well, that's super awesome. Oh, yes, Ashley, you will get to see me in Rookie-O, and I will be looking for a 10 NPS from you if you don't mind. All right, in Azure, general availability, the Azure Chaos Studio. Okay, guys, I literally put this in here because I wanted to say the words live, Azure Chaos Studio. It's just fun to say. But really what it is their implementation of how can we break things. Amazon has this. I think Google's got it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody make a comment. Let me know. What does Lauren say? Lauren says, my dad just saw me watching live and said he worked with me. World Savings. Oh, that's awesome. Well, tell him hi. Yes, I do remember David Martinez. David was awesome. So if you look at my, never mind, let's press on. So Azure Chaos Studio, Key Vault, you can now attack Key Vault in cloud, classic cloud service faults. So again, this is how you take and train Azure to go and beat up your application and find faults so that you can solve them before the bad guys do, or before your application just breaks. It creates chaos, as the Chaos Studio name would imply. Chaos Studio. Everyone say it with me, Azure Chaos Studio. All right, over in the Google, NVIDIA T4 GPUs, they're now available for the following regions. That's US Central and Europe West. So this is fantastic. It's additional capabilities on the compute side to do all the things you might need a GPU for. What might that be? Whatever you need it to be. Whenever you need more dedicated compute, you can now get that from over at Google in those two new regions. So yay, NVIDIA and Google. All right, guys, you want to get any of these links, read more information about the updates from the cloud providers. You, of course, can do that at rackspace.com/solve/102. What won't you find there? Salesman. Yay. Just go get new information. The only cost, there is a cost. Share it with somebody. All right. The only thing I sell here on Cloud Talk is, well, if you'll come and work with me. So we have a job. I'm actually recycling this job from Tuesday because it's really awesome and nobody we haven't hired anybody for it yet. But that's the senior product architect inside of our data solutions. Guys, data is, we'll talk to Becky about this shortly and everything that's going on inside of data. But the data solutions team mission is to provide end-to-end solutions to help businesses increase the speed of innovation, lower TCO, and derive value from data faster. I can't wait to get Becky's take on what those guys are doing over at Snow Software for in and around data. So you can apply for that job, you know where, over at solve/102. You should be used to that now. Somebody says they're paired. I don't know what your name is. Hey, now I'm a saleswoman. That's right. Everybody's in sales. All right. So again, you can find the audio for all of these inside of the podcast feed, but also you can find other content. We don't do live. It's just strictly audio podcast. And we've got a great one coming out tomorrow, if our schedule holds, with a guy named Mark Rastovich. And Mark has a storied career. We have a fun conversation. We have a lot in common and have a great time. So you can only hear that, of course, if you go and subscribe to Cloud Talk at 9 o'clock when we finish this presentation. All right. Well, that takes us down to the cloud discussion, which means it's my time to, actually get to introduce to you the amazingly talented Becky Trevino. Becky is the EVP of product and the self-proclaimed cloud nerd. So Daniel, with that, why don't we go ahead and bring Becky on up to the stage? Becky, welcome to Cloud Talk Live.
I'm excited, Jeff. I actually listened to a couple of your shows. Plus, we're former coworkers, so I'm really happy to be here with everyone. Hello.
So glad you're here. Now, Becky, you've got a soft spot in your heart for Rackspace, though that's not where you are now. We were just talking about some old names of folks that we work with over the years, and it's always fun to have somebody back on who, one has who knows the same stories that I do, but also, you helped me a ton when you were here at Rackspace. I had lots of, in my role, especially in the past, was I'd come up with these crazy ideas of product stuff, and hey, let's go and incubate this and build out an offering. Little things like, dedicated SharePoint or this other little cloud product called Azure, and you kind of helped shepherd. You literally helped shepherd the team and I as we brought Azure support to the market. So it's huge. Thank you for that.
Yeah, where it came in, the time at Rackspace, spent about 6.5 years at Rackspace, a variety of different roles. So I led customer success at Rackspace, technical support, so about 80-person organizations where I know Evan from. He worked for my support team back in the day. And it was just a really interesting experience to be there at the infancy of the cloud. I remember we were in the middle of the cloud wars when just AWS. I always say it like, Rackspace, we were out there with OpenStack public cloud. We were really going up there. We had our David Goliath scenario with AWS, and it just the history of it. I remember when Azure kind of came in, went strong in the cloud. It's really interesting to see the report where it's like Azure's overtaking. I'm still team AWS. I still think AWS is ranks out there the view of all of the different services across. You're still asking yourself that question, but I do know that for a lot of enterprises itself, you still, given the proliferation of Microsoft 365, and I think that's been maybe the Trojan horse for Microsoft. It's just, and if you're already using, you're still part of their ecosystem. But I think the advantage that AWS still has is they came in through engineers, through developers, and they still had a lot of that independence rather than that part in from IT. So I think that's the part that Azure is going to really have to think about is, if one's strong with the other. And then today I was actually, one of those companies I've admired the most in cloud has actually been DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean, I used to think about, because I ran public cloud support at Rackspace for a long time. And when we were in there, I remember going and getting frustrated because I was trying to make us just more digital. And I would send over to my team and say, this is what a how-to article should look like. And even when I look at AWS, when I look at Azure and GCP, who's really going in it, DigitalOcean still does that how-to the community better than anyone else, which why you can understand that like SMBs and engineers really like digital. So I'm a huge DigitalOcean fan. When I think of digital and just technical documentation and community, they're still like the number one place I benchmark.
Becky, you really are a cloud nerd, aren't you? I'm thinking that you don't turn it off at 5 o'clock when you go home, do you?
I have opinions over it because the leader for product marketing for DigitalOcean reached out and I was like, I'm familiar with DigitalOcean. I love your work. I love emails. I was like, I subscribe to your emails and like sit there and try to put stuff in my own department of where it comes in. So yeah, I do like it a lot.
It's fun to have a little company crush, isn't it? I have one of those on Canva because I love what Canva's doing on the graphic design. I feel like Canva's doing on graphic design what AWS did for innovation in and around compute. They're just democratizing it, making it available to the world.
I think it's a big one in terms of Canva in particular. That one, Canva for us in the SaaS world is leading this new concept you and I were talking about, which is product-led growth. And we've talked about there was a series of time where for organizations it was enough to really be able to get to the cloud. And what you're seeing, the pioneers in SaaS, which is Canva, Asana, and others, you're taking it to the next level of product-led growth, which is really, if you think about it, we saw a lot of this in the pandemic. Companies like Miro, I'm not sure if you've been able to use them, they really took off internally with us here.
Just used them yesterday to lead several brainstorming sessions. I love that tool.
Yeah, and I think what it is was that's true democratization, because we used to be happy when it would be like, here's a demo, and you'd be able to try a little bit, get a bit of free trial. What Miro and others do that's really special is the fact that you're actually getting value from that product before you could actually buy it. Before you have a negotiation, you're able to say, well, I'm going to lead a session using this, or I have this brainstorming one, I'm going to go in, and then you really get that true one of value. Then you have the ability to go viral. That's the part about product-led growth, because then someone's in that session with you, seeing you use Miro. They're like, look how effective Jeff was using that tool. Let me go out there and do that. So that's the next stage where you're seeing in SaaS from a perspective of really enabling companies to accelerate that path to product-led growth. That's really huge for us in this space.
Well, and how is all of that impacting what you guys do at Snow? And for those that don't know it, maybe you can just, of course, give us the pitch on who and what is Snow, and then let's talk about product-led growth from your perspective.
What we do at Snow is help companies manage all of this technology. As you know, I just mentioned Miro, we talked about Canva.
Yeah.
Everybody is buying. And we used to have this scenario where IT held the gates, where
Yep.
if you wanted to get a new technology, you had to get on the IT roadmap. They had to procure a server. And we've been in this space for years where it says like, well, no longer. People can just spin up a server at AWS.
Yeah.
People can buy it. And now with this product-led growth, it's everybody is the way Amazon used to be, where just pull up
Mm.
a credit card and you get a free trial and you start using it. And so you've looked around and it's the end user. The end user has all of the power. But
Yeah.
what that creates is a problem where it's like, great, we're enabling people to be fantastic with productivity. But what we've done is we've created more risk into the organization.
Right.
And that's what we at Snow try to help IT. IT is
Okay.
our primary buyers. We help IT get visibility into all of the technology running in their environment so that they can better manage risk, whether that risk be costs, because in these
Mhm.
consumption models, you can quickly forecast budget. We're not in a world of shelfware anymore where you buy a bunch of perpetual licenses, you're locked in on a
A little bit
price.
of maintenance, and that's that. Yeah.
Yeah, you actually have consumption usage-based pricing. And this is this whole impact of product-led growth. I recently ran an article on product-led growth for IT, is that if these costs go exponential, now things that Salesforce used to be, you locked into a budget of a certain number of users.
Yeah.
But if you actually go in and now everybody's on usage, everybody's like AWS, where you could just say, your costs are going to control. Costs are going to be a really big issue. And that's one of the key use
Mhm.
cases for our technology. We create the data across where you can know how much SaaS I'm running, how much Oracle I'm running,
Mm.
everything in your environment. And you can use that data for a variety of different things. And one of those key use cases is cost management. So what we
Mm.
do at Snow is provide IT with the visibility of what's running in their environment so they
Okay.
can better manage costs and risk within their organization.
Perfect. Okay, so now let's get into product-led growth as it relates to Snow in that context. How are you guys applying that
So we're on a
there?
journey like much others, is really looking at our technologies and understanding how we can actually bring those closer, bring that value closer to users. And that's a
Yeah.
big one of where we're on that transformation ourselves, of figuring out what is that value metric. And we started this journey, which last July, we did a launch of our SaaS platform called Snow Atlas.
Okay.
And with this, we're bringing that part of a platform that you can sit there and create and make it easier for the user to just try, and much like Miro, get value from our solution faster.
Got it. Makes perfect sense. If people want to learn more about the software, let's direct them. It's just snowsoftware.com, or how do people find you?
Snowsoftware.com. And one of the biggest challenges we're helping customers, we had a presentation number of CIOs, is if you're suffering from SaaS management right now, this is a big topic, because a lot of times we've been in year 3 of the pandemic. What a
Mhm.
lot of people did in 2020 was buy too much SaaS, and particularly Microsoft. We just talked about one of the
That's right.
key ways that
Everybody just
yeah, that
we
they're doing well.
shoveled everything to the cloud. I mean,
Yeah.
in as fast as we possibly could, any cloud.
And you're likely overspending in SaaS right now. You probably had
Right.
3 people using Trello, another 100 using Smartsheet, another 100 using something else. And
Right.
there's probably this key part called a use case we have called application rationalization. You're probably paying about 50% too much for the technology, particularly your SaaS technology in your environment. And you should be using that money to hire, to do other stuff, to pay your employees a little bit extra because of all this great resignation. Optimize that so you can go for growth. And that's the biggest area I'd say people can save right now and get streamline their businesses.
So it's a really interesting thought, because when from our side, the side you used to be on that service provider side, when we talk to companies now, they say we want to move to the cloud. What do we actually do? Our recommendation is, and this you see pretty ubiquitously across the industry, is for anything that isn't differentiating for your organization, find a SaaS-based offering for it, should one exist. Because if it's not differentiating, why spend time and effort on something that's not a snowflake? Go let somebody else kind of manage that. But for those things that are unique, that are special, that set your company apart, that's where you want to invest in your own development. That's where you start thinking about how you manage your own cloud environment, or use partners to do that work. And so, what you guys are doing, we are on our side, we're encouraging more and more organizations to use as much SaaS as they can, and then really just double down on those things that are differentiating. So what a great market to be in to help with that spend, and just visibility for one thing. That's always the hardest part, is organizations understanding exactly where it all is going, because nobody goes and combs through the expense ledger to look for where all those credit card receipts are coming from.
I think it's a big one. It's the visibility, but it's also the risk. Like the biggest question that people have are our customers, and we always consider ourselves a cost management type of solution, like helping customers manage the cost of their technology. But when you have conversations with our customers in terms of what they actually use the product for,
Yeah.
the number one reason that they use it is visibility. Because for IT, still answering what is running in my environment
Yeah.
is still the hardest question for them to answer. And so
Yeah.
once they have that visibility, they end up using and taking our data and putting it in a bunch of other systems that we didn't build the capabilities for them to use. But we're actually sitting there and saying, okay, our job is providing that data. But our best customers use that as almost a single source of truth for IT, of knowing what's running in their environment so they can keep track of it. Because when you have big security incidents, a lot of times that's what you need to know is, where is that particular application running? And so while we don't consider ourselves a security company, that visibility of that ability of having the data and knowing and being like, we're the best source of data in a company's environment about what they're running, ends up becoming an extremely important advantage. It's actually one of the reasons one of our customers ended up using us, and not that it's a use case for us, but they use the data well enough to help them accelerate their identification of Log4j.
Wow, incredible. Yeah, so it's well, I like your point that it's not an exact security tool, but it is one of the tools in the arsenal to help create visibility. And this last part of the conversation really makes me think, and I want to get your opinions here, is the role of IT is absolutely changing. I mean, IT used to be the enablers of all things IT. A business group would want to have a new feature, a new offering, a new whatever. A lot of times they would go and poke around and find a favorite software tool, but in the end, they would go knocking on IT's door and say, we want this software. And they say, okay, well, let's give us your requirements. We'll go make sure it's right. We'll get the thing. We'll bring it in. We'll do identity. We'll do backup. We'll do recovery. All the enterprisey things that have to happen. But to your point, I mean, a lot of this is being solved with a credit card swipe in a SaaS-based offering. IT tends to not ever be aware of it. Now, with your tooling, IT is aware, but IT's role inside of the business, I think, is gone from being, I'll call it a gatekeeper and an enabler, to a player coach sort of a
Mhm.
relationship. So helping to create the boundaries that organizations can use this stuff effectively. Susan Price, somebody who's been around a lot in the past several weeks, and I've known since the USAA days, it brings out a good point, because Miro had some security challenges. And when IT is aware of Miro being used in the organization, they can actually be in front of that and know that it's an exposure to them. But what are your thoughts as IT's changing role?
We have this saying at Snow, it's like our mantra, IT should build guardrails, not gates.
Hmm.
And it's this idea of someone on our organization uses this concept of technology guardians. There's technology guardians within the organization that need to have a role in having that visibility that we provide to keep the organization safe. But it's not the world where we need to be the gatekeepers, because that world is gone.
Yeah. Yes.
And this is why I had this article of product, what IT needs to know about product-led growth, is that this is happening. You can't control it. The genie's out of the bottle. People are getting X more evaluations because of product-led growth. Pretty much this is going to be the standard for
Right.
SaaS moving forward. And in that world, you have to understand that usage becomes so important, and you have to have this, you have to create your own mechanisms.
Mhm.
So for us, it's guardrails, not gates. Because if you become a helper, where it says nobody in the business wants to introduce security risk. No one wants to be the department that, because I wanted to move faster, I've now introduced a bunch of risk, and now we have a hacker in here because I didn't vet that provider well enough. So
Right.
from that, there's that partnership that comes in, but IT needs to create those right processes. And what Snow we enable IT to do is to have a system by which they have that visibility. And some of our best customers actually use it for persona-based IT, where they'll say, like, well,
Okay.
this department tends to run these applications. This is what they need. And if you can go to a particular department and say, hey, I noticed, Jeff, that you're up 20% in your technology spend compared to year over year. Is
Yeah.
that what you want?
Mhm.
Is this the best use of your budget?
Right.
Oh, maybe it's not. Well, hey, what if we had this rationalization of this, this, this? That's a way different conversation from IT than how many Salesforce licenses are you running? and
That's
just like
right.
dropping off budget. Because the more that you actually, people don't realize this because we're so busy trying to be productive, because all of us need to meet certain deadlines to the business. If you're the marketing department, you're responsible for more pipeline. If you're product engineering, we have to delivery. So we're all concerned about our own business outcomes. And oftentimes, because we're so concerned about our business outcomes, that's first,
Yeah.
not the security and governance. And that's where IT needs to be worried about, where it says, my peers are never going to be worried about that. They're about driving the business, driving transformation.
That's right.
I need to worry about that. And I need to buy the tooling and the software to create these guardrails where I have visibility into what they're actually using, but I don't make it burdensome. And I become this partner that you say that adds value and insights, rather than being like, what are you using? And then taking it away. Give recommendations. Almost become
Right.
a consultant for your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, I love that. And if you got somebody who's an old school CIO, CTO, and this can be a hard pill to swallow unless you're really heading down very just ultimately being aware. So Becky, as we talked about before we came on, this is National Women's History Month. We have devoted every episode to women in tech, and I just want to give in our last 5 minutes here a little bit of a platform for you. How. One, how has your experience been as a woman and with a very storied tech career, a self-proclaimed cloud nerd, but then also an opportunity to encourage other women, younger women, because we've gotten lots of comments from folks who have watched this as part of their day as they're in their job and they're taking it home to show their teenage and school age daughters. But so one, your experience, and then two, and a little encouragement to that next generation.
The big one for me, so I'm an engineer by background who's just had a variety of different roles in their life. I started off in engineering, took a stint into marketing, led customer success and technical support at Rackspace, back to marketing, and now it has been spending the last couple of years in product. And it's about, first of all, believing in yourself
Mm,
and what you can do, and then having the group of people that really are your team, that team Becky. I was fortunate
yeah,
enough to grow up with a father that just really believed that I could be whoever I wanted to be.
yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the paradigm of what it is. And so
Mhm.
of what, I didn't need to be in a box. And sometimes, whether it's our family or that's the other expectation of us, I always say this one is I'm the ugly duckling of a really attractive group of people, a family. And so and maybe that was the freedom of being able to say, I don't have to be the one with the great hair, and I could just go out here and just do my thing while my sister's beautiful. And so I think there's a little bit of that where it's just the freedom, give your children, if you're a father, is, give your daughters the ability to choose what they want to
Mm,
be and be supportive about that and understand. And also for women, I think there's this complex. If let your daughter wear the tutu and go to ballet, just
yeah.
because you want them to do STEM doesn't mean that they can't
Doesn't mean they
enjoy
can't
or
do the
be
pretty girl things. That's right.
and then they can do both. And so
Mhm.
I think that's another one. And the other one is find the right leaders.
Hmm.
Find the right leaders. I don't know if it's chicken and egg or just the right one. I've worked for really great people.
Right.
And maybe it's a self-selection. Maybe it's
Mhm.
like people who are great are able to see my potential,
Yeah.
and then people who aren't pass up on me. I don't know. But I've worked for really great people. And when you work for really great people, those people find opportunities for you.
That's right.
I tell a great story of a Javad Kabiri who I led and was just one of the best was the best leader I've ever worked under, one of the best leaders at Rackspace.
Yeah.
And he sat there and took somebody who was helping him from a customer marketing perspective. And he said, you could be a great support leader. And I was like, no, I can't. He's like, you could. And gave me an 80-person organization to go lead. And I delivered.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so I think the big one I'd say for women technology is if you find the right leader and be critical about who you work for, because if you find the right leader,
Ooh,
they will actually sit there and put you in the right spots. Because the
right.
times in my
And they'll
life
challenge you.
they'll challenge you and they'll drive opportunities for you. But also, on the side of, be critical of the right leader. But when you find the right leader, help them be successful. And that's
Right.
probably been the one thing in my career. I remember Javad actually was my reference when I worked for my current boss, and he was like, "Becky will quickly become your right hand person. She will be a go-to
Yeah.
person that you will ask for in your business. And if you become that for the person you work for, they will become great opportunities. But for women in particular, that's important because you have to find somebody who believes in you, Because if somebody doesn't believe in you, they won't see that potential. They will see, well, she has children, and the other, and that's the other one for women, is that choice to have children. When you
Yes.
make a choice to have children, people can say, well, is that person going to be dedicated or not? And so
Mm.
will they lose what made them great about them? And you have to find somebody that accepts the whole you.
The
If part of you
whole Becky,
becomes
the whole
become
person.
a parent, then it's just those parts in that paradigm. So be critical about who you work for, because that's
Yeah.
going to be the most important of your career.
Well, Becky, that's the soundbite for. I mean, this has been a great conversation, but that's the soundbite for this whole episode, and that is, yeah, I think that's the most sage advice, and that is be critical of who you work for. Somebody who, one, and you said it from two angles. One, who is going to see the best in you and see things in you that you don't see and challenge you, but also somebody that you will willingly support and help grow their career. I mean, I mean, and the whole organization can only benefit from that type of a relationship. So. Becky, it was so great to have you on the show and to get to spend time with you again today. I would love to have you back.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
so many other things I'd love to chat about, but our time is up, and I know you have a road mapping session to run off
I
to.
do. And we could talk about SaaS all the time, because that one advice is like, what do you do if you're moving an organization SaaS, like how to manage it, because it's a big risk area for organizations as well.
Well, let's plan on it. We'll have you back
All right,
in
sounds
not too
good.
distant future.
All right,
Everyone,
great.
thank you
Bye,
so
all.
much. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and we will be back. Well, you know when we're not going to be back is next week. I'm taking the week off, and so we will not be here all next week. So you can watch reruns, you can listen to the podcast, and but we'll be back the following week with more great women in tech, and I can't wait to see you then. Everyone, have a great day.